Right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Florida Course Supervisor Training for the Level 1 Mentors. It is August 27th. It's Thursday evening, and who we have on the call are Pedro Malat, Tim Wagoner, and Tom Nestor, and myself, Sherry Lucky. So welcome to the call, and welcome to those who are joining us via the recording. So who would like to generate the bold statement? I think I might like to generate the bold statement tonight.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
All right. The bold statement of who we are. We, the course supervisors, are given by a possibility bigger than ourselves. Holding as sacred the integrity of the clearing in which transformation occurs. Pausing the fulfillment of our brand, master providers of whatever's needed. And that's who's on the call tonight.
Great.
Thank you for being here. And who would like to generate the reason for the existence of the enterprise?
I will.
Okay.
Okay. So as an enterprise, we exist to empower and enable people in fulfilling on those matters that are of interest or importance to them. And in the process, leave them transformed with more power, freedom, self-expression, and peace of mind.
Thank you.
Great.
So tonight, we are going to start with our series that will introduce us and have us become familiar with the distinctions of the advanced course. So we're going to have like a 11-week series in which we will be going through all of the distinctions that level 1 course supervisors are required to become proficient with and be able to mock conversations with participants. And I think Tim has a document that he'd like to start the call with, in which we can go through just what the intention of the advanced course is for the participants who participate in the advanced course.
Yes, so this document was actually created by Amy Goodman last year, 2019. And as a course supervisor, we promise that our participants will walk out of the advanced course into a new world, having created a you and a life that you actually authored. And the intended participant outcomes of the advanced course with enhancements are as follows. So who would like to generate the first two?
I will.
Okay.
1, I have discovered the possibility of myself out here as group, and I am left with an expanded sense of who I am and ability to operate powerfully and effectively out here with the groups that constitute my life. And I am left with the possibility of expanding and developing on all of that after the course. 2, I have discovered for myself the distinct elements of the world of ACT and what that looks like at play, and the impact of that as I go through life. As a consequence of having done so, and against the background of having fully distinguished my ACT as the default context for myself and my life, I have created a clearing for authenticity, inventing myself and my life.
Okay, let's stop for a moment, and let's just look at what we're actually creating here in these first two intended outcomes. What, as Tom created number 1, what are you present to? If we think about so let's just think about, we're in the advanced course. We've already done the landmark forum. The landmark forum really has us look at us, our life, and completing our past. And really the forum is all about me. Now we're in the advanced course. So what does that first sentence, well, the first one is a whole sentence. What does that actually create distinct from the forum?
Opportunity to create your created self inside of group. So out here as group, as you know, you don't really exist inside yourself. We think we do, but we don't really. We only can come to life and create our created self and who we are in the world inside of the group. So that's what it says to me.
Yeah, great. The groups that actually constitute your life. So it's also pointing to there's more than one set of group. There's groups inside what constitutes your life.
Yes, that's true. I mean,
Yeah, I was also present to in the self-expression leadership program. I know that that's felt as community, but in the communities, like in the self-expression leadership program, we map out our communities. So those are all separate groups. And just for some reason, the picture of my map, or not a specific, but a generic one, like all these groups in my life and how I show up differently with those groups than before I did the landmark forum or the advanced course.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Number 2. So we created in language that the distinction act. We're going to look at that later on in the series. And after we've distinguished our act, then we can actually look at the groundwork of yourself and what's been actually creating who you are in the world. And then once we've distinguished act, then we can actually have a chance at creating a clearing of an actual created, authored self inside of the groups that constitute our life. Okay, we'd like to create 3 and 4. And
I will.
Pedro, you want to do it?
Yeah. Okay, so number 3, I have created for myself the opportunity to have a profound relationship with what's reality, with nothing added and nothing left out, and I am left with prowess in navigating life grounded in reality, producing the kind of results that alter reality, and dealing with whatever breakdowns life throws at me in reality. Number 4, ultimately, I have walked out at the source of and beginning to function powerfully as a self-created in language and in a life created in language in which power, freedom, contribution, and peace of mind are my natural self-expression, and walked out of the course with the wherewithal to develop myself further in what it takes to live a created life, to live life powerfully and live a life I love. And then lastly, number 5, I am enrolled in and see myself as someone who can contribute and make a difference in the world, and I am for this that Landmark is all about.
Great. So this document really does sum up the course, the advanced course, the 3 days and an evening. So let's look at number 3. I've created for myself, created the opportunity to have a profound relationship with what's so, reality. So there's an entire, I'm going to say an entire, probably 3/4 of a day where you're dealing with what's so, reality, versus what the act is dealing with, right? And when we look at the structure of an act, we'll really get that the act is not dealing with reality, is in response to
Action. Yeah.
something.
Reactive mode.
Yeah, it's reactive to something that's not real. Many things that are not real. So then we're going to have an actual way to produce results inside of what's so. And then number 4, you actually get that you are at the source of all of it. And that there's ultimate power in language. And that language is actually what is creating your world, your reality. And so this is where we actually get to be the source of and create and author our life, is in language, in dealing with reality versus the act. So that's kind of working backwards what happens throughout the advanced course. There's a lot that happens throughout the advanced course, but those are the major, I'm going to call them pieces or distinctions. And we're going to look at, over the next several weeks, we're going to look at all the distinctions of the advanced course. One of the first things that happens in the advanced course on day 1, session 1, is that every participant is put into a group. And typically it's a group of 6 people. And pretty much the room is set up in rows of 6 so that whoever's in a row of 6, that's their group. And then someone in that group will choose to be a group leader. And then they start functioning from that moment all through the advanced course as group, supporting each other, working through breakdowns with each other, so that they really get the sense of what their life is actually constituted by, versus what they walked in with, that, you know, my life is my job, my car, my family, my whatever. Anybody have anything to add to this piece?
No, I just think number 5, it's just like enrollment. We're enrolled in and see ourselves as someone who can make a difference. We can make a contribution, and we are introduced, I think, to the distinction of standing for something, being a stand for this. Whatever it is we create and what we author in language, we learn to stand for that. And that's truly what Landmark is about. And it really gives us the opportunity to author our lives, standing in who we are and what we create our lives to be inside of the group.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, Sherry, thanks for that, because that's the next conversation, is enrollment. Like, what is the distinct possibility of enrollment? You know, we worked with enrollment in the Landmark Forum. You know, we created and invented possibilities, and we enrolled others in having gotten that possibility. And in the advanced course, there's a lot of work around enrollment, especially beginning after the groups are set up the first day. So there's handouts about the distinct possibility of enrollment. And then there's handouts about the purpose and function, or purpose and nature of a group. I forget what it's actually called, but there are handouts for all of that. And I don't have them all. But what we're going to do this evening, the conversation we're going to talk about this evening, is the levels of self. So I'm going to pull up.
Tim,
Yeah.
Can you scroll to the top again?
Yes, I
I
can.
just wanted to write down the promise, or are you going to email this document to us?
Yeah, I can. It might
Okay,
be
thanks.
on the website somewhere. I don't know how I got it, but yes, I can email this to you. Actually, I think it's a good idea to put this in our Florida Center folder.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen this document.
This came 11 July 2019 by Amy Goodman. I'm not sure how I got it, but I don't throw things away. And I'll send it to you also, Tom.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to pull up. Do you see the levels of self now? Okay. So one of the conversations in the afternoon of day one is the conversation of self. And this used to be board work. We used to have to actually create this in board work. It was a nightmare. Thank goodness they put it in the slide deck. So we walk into the forum really as who we say we are as a person, as an individual. Now you may say, oh, you know, I do belong to a church or a synagogue, or I belong to a golfing club or the book club, or I belong to the homeowners association, but that's really not what we're talking about here in the levels of self. So there is the who I say that I am as a person, as an individual. And Tom, this is something too that I can send to you. This is actually from a slide deck. And then there's, okay, well, is that really who you are? The conversation is around who are you? And if you really look, they'll have a conversation about, okay, well, who are you related to? Who do you call, who are in your relationships, right? Whether they're your family relationships, whether they're your your relationships with your work. And you start really looking at what is really outside of you. And then there's, yeah, okay, so there's work relationships, there's family relationships. Well, who is in your family? What do you call your family? Who is your family? So if you just look right now, and I think also, if I remember, they actually have you write down all the people that you would consider who's in your family. If you really just look, okay, so who is in your family? How far do you go out with your family? You know, do you just go to the cousins, the siblings? Do you stop with your mom and dad and your siblings? Do you consider your aunts and uncles, your grandparents? Who is inside of your group that you would call your family? Then you start looking at all the other groups in your life. Like I mentioned some earlier. You know, it could be groups within your own workplace. You might have, you know, some sort of hobby group club inside of your work. There's different levels of groups that make up your life. And we don't until we've walked into the advanced course and really got present to what our life is, not who's in our life, but what our life is. Then there's your communities. There's where you live, your homeowners association, if there is one, the city you live in. it just keeps growing. Then outside of that, there is different organizations. All the organizations in the world that are out there that you may be a part of, you may not be a part of. And then there is the larger group called society. And if you look up someone, if you will, look up the definition of society. The race to the finish.
All right, so here is society as a noun. It's the aggregate of people living together more or less in an ordered community. And then there's an organization or club formed for a particular purpose or activity. That's interesting.
Yeah, so here's an example. Where I work, we have a donor society. There are people who contribute financially to the organization at a specific level. And inside that society, there are different levels of giving.
I think as what this definition is, would not include that
No.
because that's more of a group or even a community.
Yes.
Like like the Little Rascals, the Women Hater Society, or something like
They're
that.
using the word society, and it is more like a group.
Well, here's another one. What is society in simple words? So society is the term to describe human beings together, collectively, the sum of their social networks and social interactions. People form societies in order to gain greater benefits as a group than would be possible separately. So it's an organization of groups that have come together to serve some purpose.
Yes. Many times social purposes or social.
Yeah, it could be social purposes, or it could be as broad as the Western world, right? Or the Eastern world, or
the world.
you know.
I think the first definition you read, Sherry, is the most appropriate. The aggregate of people living together in a more or less ordered community.
Yeah, there are laws that govern society, whether they're codified or whether they're, in reality, there are laws that govern certain behaviors within a society.
Yeah.
So it's a defined group of aggregate. So meaning different groups of people that are organized in a particular area. Like it says, more or less organized, and it constitutes not in the immediate, but it's the group of where you are, and it's organized. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
It's not like you're in the
Different
middle
groups.
of a forest and there's a bunch of people there. You have no relationship to them because you don't even know where they are.
So the purpose here is for you to see outside of you, there are different levels of self possible inside of different groups. And we don't walk around thinking that we have any of these levels. We may say, oh yeah, I'm related to family. My life is my family. But beyond that, we don't have a sense of self beyond most likely family, and some just themselves. So in the advanced course, in order to be fully expressed as self, you cannot be fully expressed alone as self. truly self-expressed. There's no enrollment possible, you in the mirror, right? There's no fulfillment of self, you in the mirror. And it's very limited for you. And if you just go to the level of family or even group, because what is possible through enrollment is the full self-expression of who you are in the world. And that's really the end game of the forum, which is why then the next program in the Curriculum for Life is the Self-Expression and Leadership Program. Because once you complete the advanced course, you really are enrolled in what's possible for you at all levels, beyond your family, beyond your work groups, beyond your homeowners association, beyond any societal groups that you belong to, and actually can make a difference and impact at the level of world. And if you look, over 100,000 nonprofit organizations have been created as a direct result of the Self-Expression and Leadership Program, completing this curriculum, that have impacted the world. You know, the Hunger Project is one of them. Habitat for Humanity is another. Where I Work is one of them. So what's really possible inside of a created life, an authored life, is having full self-expression out in the world at all levels. Anything else that you guys see to add to this conversation?
I think it's like what you said, you as an individual, there's nothing really. It's just
Yeah.
until you get out and start to interact with people in a relationship, you don't get to create who you are.
Yeah.
And then it just expands as you continue through the different levels of self until you ultimately get to who you are in the world.
I think that was one of the big breakthroughs for me in the advanced course is that. And I'm not sure I really got it until after the advanced course, because my advanced course was the very first one that they did in the new, like, I guess the advanced course with enhancements. And I think they've toned it down, but because it was in Fort Lauderdale. It was the weekend that the Pulse shooting happened. There was a lot of people from Orlando,
Mm-hmm.
of course, but you know, the whole thing of we can't start till every single person shows up, because it's not about the individual, it's about we are a group together, was very hard to swallow for, I think, almost everybody on a certain level. And it's like, I really, thought, well, there's me, there's a group, but there's me and the group. Like, I'm still separate from the group. And it's very hard to get that concept of I am the group.
Yeah.
And so that whole thing about arriving on time and integrity, and when people are late, and there's all this confrontation about that, because people, they just don't get that, and it takes a while to sink in. And at some point during the weekend, we constituted ourselves as I am group, not I am individual.
Yeah, it takes a weekend and an evening.
It's not an easily digestible concept.
Yeah.
It isn't, and you, as you're participating in it or as you're supervising the course, it's astonishing to sit in the back of the room and watch the evolution of the individual becoming self in a group, and that group becomes self, and everybody becomes everybody else. It's phenomenal to watch, because the first time people don't come, it's like, well, they didn't come, and oh my goodness, and we're just going to have to get on them, and blah, 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 blah. And there's a lot of individualistic approaches to how do we constitute ourselves as group. And as you say, you go through that process several times and continue to be exposed to the different distinctions of the advanced course, and the light dawns at some point over the advanced course. Oh, that is who I am. That's who I create myself to be. And it's really kind of miraculous the way that happens, I think. It's access to something that I had never truly experienced until I did the advanced course. And supervising it, it's such a gift to supervise an advanced course as a course supervisor, to be able to see the demonstration of the evolution from individual to group.
Yeah. What happens, like really what happens even inside of the course, is people will start confronting that their group, like if you're a group leader, start confronting that, you know, well, so-and-so's not here and they didn't communicate. They then start confronting that who they really are, self-expressed, is not that. That who they really are is that everybody wins, and who they really are is have it all work. Once people get off of it about others, and they really start getting that who I am is that others are expressed, and that others are free, and that others are transformed, then these levels really actually disappear. And you get that who you are in the world, who your life is, what your life is about, and who you are in life, is that everybody, all, are fully self-expressed and free to be. What happens inside of those sessions when people come back and they're not there is people start getting present to, I'm either going to sit here and be my one little individual, or I'm going to say something, and people start expressing and being. That's what I see causes the shift of individual to group. Joe, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just thinking about my own course, and, you know, putting this on the court instead of, you know, for me just talking about it, just really like how it was lived for me. So I came from having been related to an excellent group of friends, which were basically my relationships, and I still saw myself as an individual inside of that group. And that's how it, you know, when I walked into the course, that was the only like immediate group that there was. My friends are my friends, and I just don't know anybody else, right? So what I was confronted by when I got into my group is being with a group of individuals that I did not relate at all, because I didn't know them, right?
Right.
And not only that, but also getting that, you know, even in the beginning, because I chose to be a group leader, and even in the beginning of constituting ourselves as group, I saw, you know, some people in my group trying to either take over, you know, say what there was to say and not others be expressed, right? And I was like, in the beginning, I was like, oh, this is going to be an interesting formation of group, because I was already resisting one of my group members. And as, you know, as the weekend developed, I really got a sense of I was related to people that I knew as friends and group. I just didn't even think it was possible to get related to people that I didn't even know, that I just met that weekend. And not only that, but relating to them as, beings, as people. Like, you know, because I would say, well, you know, I'm from, you know, my reality, right? I'm from Venezuela, and I don't know these people, so I don't know how to get related to them. They have no relationship to me. They don't know how I am or what my culture is and all that. And I really got, at the end of that, it really didn't matter. Because there was, you know, we developed a connection as a group and relationship as a group that actually stood by even after we completed the course. Like, I'd say like, wow, like, you know, like 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6, we all did the self-expression and leadership program together. Like that was the impact, like the difference that I got when I came in and then when I walked out of this. So for me, it was just relating to myself as walking in. Yeah, I'm an individual. I don't know how to get related with other people because I don't know them and they don't know me. And that was just all about me, right? Once I got out of myself and I was able to be self-expressed inside of standing for, it's not me anymore, it's about a we, right? Once I got that I really got this, you know, I really got the levels of self in this course.
It's great. Okay, so anything else about this diagram? You wanted to take it down if we're done with it?
Nope.
Okay. All right, so what does it all matter if we get present to that there's something more than, there's something outside of me? What are we going to do with that? Why go through this conversation about the levels of self? What do you see? Tom, you're muted.
Sorry, one of my dogs started to bark, so I had to mute. I think that for me, I've wanted to make a difference in the world. And I feel that me being able to see myself as group or community, I have a better impact, a bigger impact. I have more access to affecting the world and the community and causing transformation versus just me and then the world over there. Because, you know, I kind of see like, I also see that every time I'm in a group, whether it's family or friends or community organization, like my Kiwanis Club or something, I actually feel responsible for all of them. And not responsible like, you know, not responsible like I have to do something, but just like in caring for them and how our relationships go. And I don't think that would ever been possible if I just saw myself first and I never got the whole me as a group.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For certain, the impact, what's possible inside of, you know, let's just say a localized group, for sure. But what if that's all you're up to? What if that's fine with you? What if someone is like, yeah, I just want to make a difference in my homeowners association?
Well, that's fine. That's their choice, right? That's their life.
Yes, right. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm asking, the question is, why have this conversation about the levels of self all the way out to the extent of the world versus, you know, what's the purpose of this, really?
I think it gives you access to being able to see that you are in the world and that you can create yourself who you are in the world as someone in the world. I think we get, you know, walking into the advanced course, we are who we are, we're individuals, and yes, we have families and we're connected within our families, but it's all like outside of us. It's not like we're inside of that and we're part of that.
Yeah.
And it really gives you a place to stand inside the world, right? Like I am the world, and the world is comprised of all of us. And we're all one. That's
Yeah.
what I keep coming around to, you know, it's like, that's how the world gets created. So I never had access to seeing the world that way. The world was like this abstract thing out there that I really had no way to impact or be in. I never saw myself as who I am for the world is my created self. So I think that's part of what this is to allow us just to see a visualization of how we exist inside the world and how we keep ourselves down here in this, you know, this individual state, and maybe we move up into the family state, and maybe we get to a little group, but it's rare to move beyond that because it's just like, oh, that's other things. That's for other people. That's another place. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's an area I can't impact, or that's an area I'm not, it doesn't matter to me. There's no way I can make a difference like that in the world. But when we really work through that, who you are is that the world works. Because that's really when you, I don't have it in front of me, but there is the quote, the world works for everyone with no one left out. That's what we're up to on the planet.
And you just notice as this is introduced, you're not even part of that world.
No.
You know?
Right now you could actually look and, you know, think about what's going on in the world today in Kenosha. That's not part of my world. That's, no. Right? But we are. And if it's not working for my neighbor, if it's not working for someone in my community or in my organization, it's not working for someone in the world, it's not working for me either. And it ultimately isn't. So it really is a wake-up call on the first day of the advanced course to really get that who we've said we are and what was possible for us is so constrained and so limited. Even though we've created and invented possibilities for your life, you still had it until this conversation that your life was your job, where you lived, how old you were. Very, very conceptual and totally not who you are. Completely not who you are.